Today, we're going to be talking about the experience that we had as part of Mohammed VI Polytechnic University during the COVID time and what it implied for us in terms of visibility and impact, both in Morocco and in other African countries. The first part is going to be more about like the ecosystem, so that we understand a little bit how did we engage basically in the confinement period and the COVID crisis. So UN6P, when it was created, the main focus was to be targeting research. Like most universities in Morocco are looking at more education. So we started with research, and we're training researchers, making sure, like in partnership with the different universities worldwide, and we're aiming to do practical research so that actually we solve issues that affect Morocco and other African universities. So UN6P, like we're based in Ben Guerir, which is the number 4 on the deck there. And then we have also physical presence in 4 other sites. We're in Rabat, we are in Casablanca, Jadida or Mazagan sites, and then we're also in Laayoune, Fumluad, which is number 5 toward the south of Morocco. And the reason we're doing that is that every site is actually specialized in one of the research topic. Like policies and humanities are in the Moroccan capital, that's number 1, like business is number 2, like chemical research is number 3, like water and biosaline research is done in the south, and so on. One of the key things that we have within UN6P, and that makes us pretty unique and give us like great opportunities for research and development, is the concept of living labs. And for living labs, we're talking about like the cities we mentioned. We have full-size cities that actually are being developed. Like and we're looking at the like architecture, the materials that we're using for sustainable building, the smart cities, and so on. We have mines, we have like chemical plants, but we have also like from the digital part, like a data center, and then other investment that we're doing that we'll be looking at. So one of the lab that we have within the university is called the Digital Learning Lab, and that's an entity that we're managing. It's right now equipped with 4 studios, like about 22 people managing the team. And after the COVID, we're growing that network to 17 studios. The other thing that's interesting is that we're not shy of trying new ways of education. Like digital was part of our education, so that's the DLL, but we have also a concept of the school, the 1337 school, which is a school that's actually where there is no professors. It's peer learning, project-based, and so on. Then there is also other type of collective intelligence school, and like the Maher Center, where actually we're bringing people to learn actually the social ways and how to deal with social populations and so on. And so the ecosystem, the way it looks right now is we have the university, we had like all those living lab, the digital aspects, we're being also we're a subsidiary of OCP and OCP Foundation. OCP is like the world leader in terms of fertilizers, phosphate-based fertilizers, and OCP Foundation is a foundation that has a lot of helps with bringing actually action to people to have impact, like both in Morocco and in Africa. And the COVID context was basically like the confinements. So we had the first case 2nd of March in Morocco. That's when we identified the first case. March 13, the country was on lockdown. So really about 11 days difference. And it's like days before, or even hours before the lockdown was announced, we were not sure yet. We were preparing, but no one was ready. The universities, the government, the schools, like the public sector was not ready. And but that kind of quick change like opened everybody's mind to the adoption of new and innovative solutions, because we didn't have a chance, right? Like it's like everybody were at school, the following day they were at home, and we needed actually a way to get them to attend classes and so on. Like conducting business as usual with the strict observance of the social distancing was almost impossible. Like again, like we had to adopt quickly as a country, as a university, as an economic members of this society, had to go and like start adopting digital solution because they were easier and they were the lesser evil. And so in terms of that, like the ecosystem, what it meant, like we were building that ecosystem, but just before the confinement started, if I had to translate our ecosystem to kind of assets that we had, is that we had an IT, a very important IT infrastructure. We had a great digital expertise because we were working on digitalizing content and so on and building platforms for the last 5 years. We have a lot of knowledge in research and innovation. We had expertise in digital education. And then we had also very strong partnership across, like in Morocco, in Africa, and worldwide. And that's how basically we got positioned. And so basically we had an ecosystem that was ready, and then came the confinement. The second section, I will be talking about some of the key initiatives that allowed the university to position itself as like a trusted intermediary. And sorry, I have to click first. So the first initiative, it was called Prepa Digital. So in Morocco, we have a French-like system where after students graduate from high school, if they're interested in joining engineering school, they have to spend 2 years like studying math, physics, and then taking an exam before integrating the universities. These are typically the top 2,000 students in Morocco. And sorry, the top 10,000 students in Morocco. And those candidates are also, they pass also the French exam. So not only they take the Moroccan exam, but they take the French exam. And once the confinement started, basically they were not able to get, so the exam was still planned for the same dates as usual, but then they did not have access to the data. We had one initiative that we were working on initially as part of the DLL, where we looked at class préparatoire, and then we thought about how do we convert it into a digital experience where actually the students can manage their own learning path. They can have access to the best courses from the best professors that we have in there, and allow them actually to fully attend the class. And the impact that we had was very simple. So of course, all this coverage that we had, because it was like a solution 100% made in Morocco / Africa, it allowed also the education ministry to not have to worry about those 10,000 students that were like the top 10,000 students that they had, and go focus on the K12, focus on universities and so on. And the announcement of the platform ended up actually being done by the ministry. We went to the ministry, said, look, we have this kind of platform, here's what it does. And they said, we're gonna announce it officially and we're gonna make everybody use the platform. So the second one is the K12 program, I'll call it part 1. So the week when education resumed, the ministry had already a program similar to Prepa Digital that was targeting K12 students. But then what happened is, so they had a few hundred courses, and they announced it, that it's available for students, that they can use it. And like the day they made the announcement, the website actually got disconnected. It just like, it was not meant to be scaling. They had like almost 2 million connections, simultaneous connection. I spent quite a bit of time working at Microsoft building platforms. And when we initially designed Office 365, we were targeting 100,000 simultaneous connection. Now we're talking about 2 million simultaneous connection in a country like Morocco. And so that created issues for them. And so what we had to do is, because we had the expertise, we had the infrastructure, we helped them quickly re-architecture the solution, hosted it locally, made it in a scalable solution. And then we did not just look at the infrastructure, but then we helped also the part about the content. And so we prepared about 20 studios in 8 cities, and we collaborated with the local academies to send us professor do the recording. And what's interesting is that the platform, the ministry platform was working again, was supporting basically the 2 million distinct users per day, and then the 600 concurrent connections. And then we contributed to building a library of 3,000 courses in a matter of 5 weeks, which covered the entire 3 months that were left basically in the program. And out of the 3,000, the university and its ecosystem contributed 1,700 courses. And then it allowed basically the ministry to focus mostly on like the program, the exams, and then what's going to happen at the time when we resume the education. So those 2 events were probably good enough to build this kind of trust. Like for both of those, we went to the universities, to the Ministry of Education, and we asked them if we can deploy those things, if we can help them. But given the quick time that we did it, the efficiency, the impact, actually we were able, like at that time, to build that kind of trust with the ministry, and then other things came later. So the next thing I'll talk about, and it will be probably the last one that I'll cover just to stay within the time that we have, is initiative K12 program part 2, sorry, not part 3, is once we had all this great content that is available, hosted at the universities, infrastructure, and so on, it was great that it was free, but then people had to access it using data plans. Because in Morocco, actually, the infrastructure that we have, or the current situation, is 93% of internet users have actually mobile subscriptions. And like there is less than 5% ADSL, and the remaining Fios, and so on. And the cost of mobile data is almost like the cost per gigabyte is almost the same as the minimum wage per hour. So for someone in a situation where a lot of people stopped working, now there is this kind of additional cost that came in, where we're asking them to pay their the minimum wage to get the data per gigabyte. And as you know, videos online take quite a bit of data. And so what we have done, like the trust that we built, and the feedback that we had from the students and the parents, allowed us to create like an environment where we talk to the partners, and partnered with telecom operators and National Telecom Regulation Agency to actually create a plan where like the access to our servers was granted free. So you didn't have to have a data plan, as long as you have like a GSM card. You put it in, even if you had 0 data plan or no data plan at all, you will still be able to hit our server, be able to download, access the portal, do all those kind of things. And this is something that actually was really great. Like it took us a bunch of iterations. Like it didn't happen the first time, because of course, like the telecom operator had a lot of concerns about how this can be used and so on. And so we worked through many iterations until we get a design that allowed us to do that. And what you see here is the picture, sorry, it's in Arabic. For those that do not read the text, it's just saying that the portal it was the announcement. They're saying that the portal is using no data charge. And they're showing people how to do that and the different scenarios and so on. They created videos, communications, and so on about that. And what it did is that it addressed the #1 complaint for the parents, allowed more people to access the data, and then created this environment that was never created in Morocco with a free data access. There were other initiatives to Africa. I'm gonna glance quickly through this. So this is just with partners, like with the EPFL, we were able to create 40 MOOCs to help students actually in about 200 universities and engineering school in Africa access the content. And we trained also professors on how to use digital learning or OER into their teaching. In about like the 3 months, we had 17,000 students that were registered on the platform. So that's a little bit like some of the key initiatives that we had, and that's allowed us actually to build the trust and position us in this position of the trusted intermediary. This part, I'm going to be talking about like the key ingredients that make those kind of things happen. Like I lived in the US for quite a bit of time, and then when I went back to Morocco, for me, like what you notice is that there is a lot of positive energies, but and I think it's the same thing as many developing countries, but most of the time they're not channeled toward the right direction, because there are contradicting agendas, not a clear strategy, not clear goals, and so on. And what happened, I think, and that was pretty interesting, is with the confinement, there was like an official statement from the king, wearing a mask, because that was part of the leadership, making sure that actually everybody actually has to use this kind of security measures and so on. Like that's allowed to create this, to turn this crisis into a national focus, to turn it into a challenge and an opportunity for the country to make a dent, because we knew that we had very limited resources, and that the only way for us to get through it is by pooling resources, and more importantly is breaking the silos that we have between the different entities, like the silo between the ministry, the telecom companies, the private sector, the universities, the schools, and so on, and trying basically to think about how do we go and make that thing actually work. So then the second portion that was important is this kind of ecosystem. So we had like a lot of actors or stakeholders, but then there was this kind of entity that came as an ecosystem that was very efficient at what they're doing, that they have expertise, know-how in like infrastructure and so on. And then what it allowed us to do is to somehow create this kind of new ecosystem. Because for us, like during the COVID, like I was talking to people in the ministry, like at 2 a.m., at 10 a.m., at 10 p.m., at all the time. Like we were working as team. We had a joint project, like their problems were ours and ours were theirs. And we were all working together. And we had like through the Ministry of Industry, they managed like the digital agency in Morocco, and they were also part of those discussions. We brought in the regulation companies, local universities, partner university, and for me, I think that like once we had the leadership with a structure that existed, we were able to create this kind of structure very easily. And so my key takeaways quickly is, I think COVID created some circumstances, a new change of mentality, and that we leverage the ecosystem that we have built to allow us to position UM6P the way we were planning on positioning it initially, as a kind of model of university in Morocco and other African countries. And then using the data, the infrastructure, the technology that we had, we were able to make that bridge real and build the real trust that we have, that we need, so that actually we can start using it. And I think between leadership, existing ecosystem, the quick wins that we had to build the trust, I think now we're having a very lasting effect and a greater impact overall in Morocco and in Africa.